I noticed a really nice vehicle pull up and 3 Somali women get out and walk into this Columbus Global Home Healthcare company. Now, I started doing a little bit of research into the company, and it turns out that between 2020 and 2021, they received $1.2 million in PPP loans that have since been forgiven. So I started looking into their company. They don't have an official website. They don't have any reviews on Yelp, on Facebook, on care.com.
We are back talking about Ohio dealing with this fraud situation because we continue to follow the fraud patterns. Same industries with the same red flags, same nothing to see here from the people in charge. And we got footage from the people on the ground in Columbus that you need to see. Let's get into it.
This is Savannah Hernandez in Columbus, Ohio, at one of the locations where a trucking company is being operated out of. Now, this trucking company received over $618,000 in PPP loans that have since been forgiven. And the reason this company was flagged for me is because of a discrepancy in the industry listed for those loans. Now, in 2020, they received a PPP loan for over $331,000, but the industry it was listed under was food service contractor. Now, they applied for another PPP loan for over $287,000 in 2021, and that one was listed under the trucking industry.
So this company, a trucking company, applied for a PPP loan back in 2020 and told the federal government that they were a food service contractor. Then a year later, same company, second loan, and suddenly they're into trucking. I mean, pick one. It's hard to be both, especially in a span of 1 year. I mean, that's not how any of this works. And I know someone in the comments may be already typing, hey, it was probably just a mistake. Probably not. A mistake is putting the wrong zip code on a form. Listing yourself under a completely different industry on 2 separate federal loan applications separated by a whole year, that sounds like a decision. Someone submitted that and then the money came. $618,000 forgiven. That's it. Done. You don't have to pay that back. And we know over the last, seems like 6 years, we've seen so many frauds from the PPP loan, people from all walks of life scamming the system, but many of these people were doing frauds for over the last 10 years, considering what we saw in Minnesota. This is a fraud industry. And the reason why I keep talking about this, because this is the economy. This is the money that was left in 2020 and 2021. In 2026, watching the economy move in the wrong direction, watching people struggle with costs that aren't going down, struggling to pay the car note, rent, groceries, all these type of things, watching real small businesses that needed that relief get squeezed out. And some of that money, it went to a company that couldn't decide what industry it was in. A straight up finesse of the federal government. And the federal government that let it happen because the whole program ran on some kind of honor system for hundreds of billions of dollars.
Now, I'm doing an investigation into discrepancies in the trucking industry here in Columbus, Ohio, and some of the addresses to active trucking companies have led us to empty suite spaces or places where you would not expect a trucking company to be operated out of. Now, this office space here actually does have a physical space for SOS Trucking, and they do seem like a legitimate company. You also have 6 other trucking companies operating out of this same building, and also to note, 5 home healthcare companies. By the way, the reason we found this trucking company is because we found a documentary on YouTube about Somali truck drivers, and one of the truck drivers who is being interviewed in the Somali language in this documentary, he works for SOS Trucking and he drives for them. And in the documentary, he's driving all the way from Dallas to Columbus, and they're interviewing other truck drivers of African descent who are talking about in the interview how English language proficiency or being able to speak English to other people at these truck stops is an issue for them.
6 trucking companies and 5 home care health companies all in one building. You know, we've seen this pattern in Minnesota. We've seen it in Maine. I know office buildings have multiple companies in there. It seems like once the fraud is happening, they all seem to all go together in one location. Now, the reporter is giving, I guess, SOS Trucking their credit, physical space, a real operation, guys actually driving trucks. That matters because obviously we're not going to paint everybody in the same building with the same brush. That's not what it is. But here's the problem. You know how they even found this company in the first place? Not through a government audit, not through some state oversight program doing its job. They found it through a YouTube documentary. Someone watching a video on the internet heard a driver mention SOS Trucking and follow the trend. This is how this is getting discovered now. Through independent journalism, through YouTube, X app, TikTok. These are the people who are doing the heavy lifting and uncovering a lot of this fraud. And meanwhile, while other addresses for active trucking companies in Columbus, empty suite spaces, nobody is there. But the loan paperwork says that there's a business at that address. It's another ghost company. They They don't move freight, they just move money. And real people are getting hurt by this, by the way, because every single dollar that went to a company with an empty office is a dollar that didn't go to someone who actually needed. A real driver that's trying to keep his truck on the road, a real small business owner trying to survive the pandemic. That money was supposed to go to them. And the oversight that was supposed to catch this before it happened, it didn't. And apparently a journalist with an internet connection and a YouTube account was more effective than his entire system.
As I was waiting for the CEO of SOS Trucking to come by because I wanted to ask about the PPP loans, I noticed a really nice vehicle pull up and 3 Somali women get out and walk into this Columbus Global Home Healthcare company. Now, I started doing a little bit of research into the company because I wanted to see if they got any PPP loans, and it turns out that between 2020 and 2021, they received $1.2 million in PPP loans that have since been forgiven. So I started looking into their company. They don't have an official website. They don't have any reviews on Yelp, on Facebook, on care.com, even their Medicare.gov website. They don't have any quality rating for or inpatient surveys for. Now, on Medicare.gov, it does say that they have been certified since 2003, so they've been around for 23 years. But at most, I was able to find 4 reviews about this company. They've received $1.2 million in PPP loans. They don't have to pay those back because it's been forgiven, but 0 digital footprint. So y'all, again, just wanted to give you guys an idea of some of the businesses that are being operated here in Columbus, Ohio. Like I said, you got 6 trucking companies in this one location. You've got 5 home healthcare companies. And as I'm doing research into the PPP loans that have been distributed to companies within this building, it was interesting to see, some of the little discrepancies, and then trying to speak to the people that do work at these companies has been a bit difficult. So a little update out of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, so $1.2 million forgiven. And when he goes up to look up this company, there's no website, there's no Yelp reviews, no Google reviews, no Facebook, no quality rating on Medicare.gov, no inpatient surveys, certified since 2003. That's 23 years in operation. It could only find 4 reviews. 4 reviews in 23 years. A legitimate home healthcare company that is billing Medicaid, employing workers, sending caregivers into people's homes for over 2 decades. That company leaves a trail. It has to. Referrals, complaints, former employees, something. 0 digital footprint on a company that just took in $1.2 million in government money is not an accident. It's fraud. And I also want to be fair. I'm not saying a crime was committed on camera. The reporter is not even saying that either. They're just showing you what they found, and more accurately, what they couldn't find. And that absence of information, that's the story. The PPP program was a problem from the start. It basically said, tell us who you are, tell us what you do, and here's the money. It was a terrible trust system. And what we keep finding out, state after state, industry after industry, that people just looked at that trust system and said, bet, and ran right through it. That money didn't disappear. It went somewhere, and we owe it to every single taxpayer to find out where it is. So let's pull back a second from this video and discuss what we watched. 1 building in Columbus, Ohio, 6 trucking companies, 5 home care health companies. You start pulling the PPP loans records attached to the building, and you see what surfaced. An industry classification that switches between applications, addresses that leads to empty spaces, and a home health care company that has been certified since 2003, pulling $1.2 million in forgiven loans, and basically has no public record of doing business at all. This sounds like every other place. This sounds like Minnesota. This sounds like the autism services and the daycare fraud, and one thing coming up after another. And every single one of those cases that show that this didn't happen overnight. This was a slow build, weak verification systems, no supervision, money moving fast through a system that wasn't designed to ask any questions. And by the time anyone looked this up, hundreds of millions of dollars were already gone. That's why we talk about Minnesota. That's why we talk about Maine, and that's why we talk about Ohio. It's showing the same fingerprints, the same industries, and the same defensive postures when reporters show up. The same trust the process energy from the leadership while the money keeps flowing and the taxpayers get nothing out of it. Covering this story for the last couple of weeks, I realized that home health care is one of the easiest Medicaid programs to exploit. No wonder so many scammers indulge in this industry. Paperwork is heavy, no supervision. A lot of it happens behind closed doors. If you're building a great ghost operation, a good scam operation, and you want to keep collecting the checks, this is the place to be. We have seen it across the country, and I've heard it's even showing up in Massachusetts and even in New York. This isn't a one state problem, but this is a thing that continues to make a lot of people angry, myself included. We are not in a comfortable economic situation right now. People are stretched thin. Cost of living is not going down, and the money that's supposed to help flow to real businesses that has real employees, real families during the hardest point in recent memory, most of that got pocketed by companies that can't produce one single Yelp review. The solution isn't isn't just to be angry for the sake of being angry. It's about getting audits done, transparency, bringing sunlight to this situation. Real journalists showing up at the address and asking, is anyone here that actually works? Because when the answer is no, we deserve to know why. But that's going to do it. And if you've seen something like this in your city or your state, drop it in the comments, or you can email me. My email address is on the page. You can also send it to my IG, Hannibal is Hungry. People who are responsible for this need to face accountability. But let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.